And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And we got a lot to get into today, as obviously it's been a big week with the NFL championship games this past Sunday, Dan. The Mets making big news, landing Freddie Peralta at the end of last week, and they introduced him to the media. They also made a couple of other signings that we'll get into. The Yankees bringing back Clay Bellinger. The Knicks are getting on track, and some trade talks are heating up. But before we get into all that, Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good today. Just made it through a round of fucking snow. Freaking as you, those who don't know that we had a big blizzard last weekend, and I've been shoveling snow about four times worth of shoveling snow, and it
Yeah.
and it's still not enough because I'm still walk. I had to climb a mountain of snow to get on a bus. To get in the because I live Queens, you got some neighborhoods that are transit deserts, and I had to get on a bus to get to the subway, and I had to climb a mountain of snow to get on that bus.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's been a pain in the ass getting around this area. Really ever since the snow. All the sidewalks are a pain in the ass to get around on, and still driving is a pain in the neck too. You wouldn't think so 3 or 4 days after the snowstorm, but it's still a pain in the ass, and it looks like we might be getting something. It's not guaranteed this weekend, but there could be some interesting weather. I've heard the terms bomb cyclone thrown around for
Oh,
the snow this weekend, so let's keep our fingers crossed that's not true. But well, we're getting frozen out here, and by the way, I'm not even kidding because they're talking about a low tomorrow of 4 degrees. So it is going to be cold as shit tomorrow in the tri-state area here, Dan. But things are starting to get heated up a little bit, though. I like that segue, right?
yeah.
For the for the trades going on, we got the NBA and NHL trade deadlines coming up. Both of our teams are right in the thick of that. The Knicks, for good reason, they're going out there trying to improve their team and reload the NBA Cup champions, for whatever that means. Looking to take that success into the postseason again this year. And on the other side, the Rangers are doing a sell off. So we're going to be talking about them uh, trying to work out an Artemi Panarin trade, which does hurt as a Rangers fan, but it's probably for the best of the franchise as long as Drury does it right. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Dan, let's kick things off with the Knicks, though. That's where my head is today. And it's funny how in sports things really are week to week. Especially during the baseball season. Me and you could be talking about the World Series one week with the Mets, and be talking about how they're the worst team in baseball the next 2 weeks. And it's very similar with the Knicks and everything too. They started off so well this year. They were 18-7 when they won the NBA Cup, and were really one of the teams that everybody was pointing to and looking at in the league as, hey, at least in the Eastern Conference, that's the team you got to get past. And obviously there's still very good teams in the conference as well. Detroit has played great, no doubt about it. And the Raptors have really come back too. The Raptors did take first place back from the Knicks during this down stretch they've had, but the Knicks went back out there and took it last night by force, crushing the Raptors in Toronto, 119-92. Really great to see the Knicks looking like this again. They got big games out of Mikal Bridges, big games out of OG. They didn't even have Mitchell Robinson last night, and still the defense played great, held them under 100 points again, and the Knicks win their fourth straight. So, after that losing 9 out of 11 stretch, Dan, it looks like the Knicks are starting to right the ship. It was a really interesting post-game interview, I thought, with Mikal Bridges after the game yesterday, where he was talking about how he kind of had to do like almost a reality check with himself a little bit, and that he felt that maybe he was entitled to getting. I don't really know exactly what he's referring to. Maybe playing time, specific minutes, or anything along those lines. But he said that he kind of just had to reel himself back in and do kind of like an ego check and get himself back on the right track. And he said that kind of helped straighten himself out. And I'm sure too, there were, we're going to get talk about the trade rumors that have been popping up the last couple of days. One of those names that came up in the list was Mikal Bridges. Now, I've never been a fan of the idea of trading Mikal Bridges because you gave up 5 first-round picks for him. So, you can't give up on this guy that quickly. Um, you know, but I completely understand, the thought process. You still have to kinda weigh every single trade scenario. They're talking about bringing in a guy like Drew Holiday. Could be a big thing. But, Dan, what was your thoughts coming out of this pretty, easy win over a really good Raptors team last night?
Yeah, that was just a nice little easy win. A win that I didn't have to have a near heart attack, as I always feel like with the Knicks. Actually, I feel like this in basketball in general with near heart attacks. Because believe me, it happens a couple of times even during the Olympics when I'm rooting for Team USA during the Olympics during the Olympic basketball. So, but either way, it's like so the Knicks are always a near heart attack.
No doubt about it. They could be the cardiac kids. We all know that. And sometimes, that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. It can either break your heart or make your heart, I guess, type thing. And by the way, shout out to our boy PhD. We know he loves the Knicks in here. Shout out to Lee B, who's also loving on the Knicks, and also our boy Disabled Officer. Thank you, buddy, as always, for hanging out with us in the chat. And Dan, yeah, so when you look at what the Knicks have gone through, this is hearing what these guys are all talking about right now. You couldn't feel better about the direction of this team right now. Mainly because it feels like all the guys on the team are taking responsibility for where the team's at right now. And and that's a good thing. These guys all understand what's in front of them. They all understand that, look, if you don't go on a deep playoff run, and basically this year, it's an unfortunate situation for the Knicks this year. uh if you want to look at it that way, it could also be a great situation if it works out in your favor. But the situation the Knicks are in right now is because they fired Tom Thibodeau. You have to get to the NBA Finals this year. It'd be nice if you won, but you at least have to get there. And if the Knicks do anything aside from get to the NBA Final, this season will be considered a failure. And that does kind of suck sometimes. Look, Dan, we've been in that with the Rangers in past years where anything less than getting to the Cup final is going to be a failure. And what happens? Most of the time, outside of 94 and 2014 over the last 30 years, it's been a failure if that's the way you're going to look at it. So we've had a lot of great years in there too with the Rangers too. The thing with the Knicks is they've put themselves in this situation with Mike Brown and getting rid of Thibodeau where everybody's going to say, okay, you pulled the trigger on Thibodeau. You didn't even give him this year. Go out and win the freaking thing, or it's on you. It's going to be on ownership, right?
Yeah, exactly. They need to do it's like pretty much NBA finals or bust with this team and they gotta deliver big time.
No doubt
And
about it.
and they might need to go all in at the trade deadline if the GNRS is available. They need to go after him. They need to go after him without a doubt. This
Yeah,
could be
well,
maybe one. This could be one of the biggest game changers for this team. That happens. Look out, because this. I mean, like I said, it could be us ending up in the promised land where we want to find ourselves going to in June.
yeah. Well, the thing is, then the Knicks are going to have to deal with the fact that it's going to be tough to get Giannis, and you're going to have to do some things that you don't want to do necessarily in order to get him, because Now that's the thing. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the trade talk is starting to heat up again. Milwaukee is looking to move him before February 5th. Now look at today's date, Dan. Today is January 29th. We are sitting here in January, just about a week away from the trade deadline, and things are going to get real very quickly. And the Knicks are going to have to really be on their toes for this because, and the Knicks are going to have to be ready to make the big splash, just like you said. You're going to have to be willing to get uncomfortable. And a guy, look, the way that I looked at this at the beginning of the season was I wanted Karl Anthony Towns and Giannis on the same team. Unfortunately, especially mid-season, that's an impossibility. There's no way the Knicks are going to be able to swing any kind of deal where they can keep Karl Anthony Towns and Giannis on the same team. It's just not a viable option. It's not even possible with the cap and the ramifications and everything along those lines. There's no way you can do it. Um, so Karl Anthony Towns would have to go in any deal for Giannis. The other thing that I'm hearing is that Giannis really wants to play with Drew Holiday again. Now let's not forget Drew Holiday was on the Milwaukee Bucks championship team a couple of years ago when they won the NBA title with Giannis and Drew Holiday was there. So and Drew Holiday is a very good player. He's a great defensive piece too. Hits big shots. He's a vet. He's been here before, knows the deal. So I wouldn't have any issue with getting Drew Holiday, but if you're gonna try to make this work, I mean, you're looking at now a 3-team deal where, or I guess it could technically also be 2 separate deals, but the way I saw it proposed was that it's a 3-team deal. I forget what team Drew Holiday is on now, but you got to get them involved. The proposal I saw to make the salaries work was that the Knicks were going to have to give up Bridges in that trade, which that's a lot, especially when you give up 5 first-round picks for a guy. And that trade, that Mikal Bridges trade with those 5 first-round picks is why it's going to be so much more difficult for the Knicks to go out there and get Giannis, because right now the Knicks don't have the ability to offer any first-round picks mid-season. If this trade waits until the summertime, then the Knicks can have as many as 2 first-round picks to trade for Giannis. Right now, they don't have any. The way the NBA works the draft picks and the rules when you can trade them, because the Knicks traded so many, they're restricted right now. They have to wait until the offseason. So there's a lot that goes into it, Dan. And as much as I would love to see Giannis come here, do you think the gamble, because let's not, the Knicks got pretty decent mojo this year, even if they had a 9 or 10 game stretch there where they weren't really playing very well. So my question to you is it worth completely redoing the roster mid-season like this? And let's not forget, it's not even mid-season. We're about 50 games into the regular season right now. So you're only going to have this lineup for maybe the last 30 or so, 25, 30 games of the regular season. So you're going to have to give up Karl Anthony Towns. You're going to have to give up Bridges. You might have to give up other pieces than that and draft picks on top of that. So I don't know. I'd love to see Giannis here, but is it worth it? What do you think?
I just feel like you kind of have to do it. I just feel like you have to. It's just one of those things where you just got to go all in, and you don't accomplish anything by not taking a risk if you need to. And I just feel like this is something that could end up being worth it. That without a doubt is probably going to propel us to where we hope to be.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that thought process too, but I also want to take a look. I haven't done this yet. I want to take a look and see what Drew Holiday's contract is, see how that is, and also too, we have to take in consideration, Dan. The Knicks are not going to be the only team making a push for Giannis right now. I've also heard Miami is looking to make a push for them, and Miami does have more younger, expendable players that they'd be able to use on their current roster right now to make this trade that might be appetizing to the Milwaukee Bucks. The other thing that Miami has at their disposal is that while the Knicks can't offer the Knicks can't offer any picks right now for the first round at least. Miami, if they wanted to make a trade right now, could offer them 2 unprotected first picks. Now we said if the Knicks wait until the offseason, the Knicks could wait to and give them 2. If Miami waits to the offseason, Miami could give them 4. So the Knicks, it's going to be a very big task if the Knicks are going to be able to pull this off, because right now it seems like not only do the Knicks have their roster management working against them in this, but they also have Miami working against them in this, because Miami has, probably more attractive assets than the Knicks do at this point.
Yeah, so I just feel like badly the Knicks got to do this before the competition gets it.
Yeah. I mean that's true. That's true.
I'm sick of the Knicks failing on it every time. This is one time they need to get it right and get that move that propels them. I've seen it happen too many times with this team.
Well, it's funny too, Dan. You're 100% right about that they have not had that killer instinct with getting guys, except for the one guy they went above and beyond for to get was Mikal Bridges. They gave up 5 first-round picks for him, and I remember even at the time, I said, look, I really like Bridges. This is the idea of just bringing him in is a good trade. The only thing that scared me was you're giving up 5 first-round picks to the guy or for the guy, when you could have just held on to those picks and used them on a star like Giannis or Kevin Durant last year when he became available, or any of these other big stars have become available over the last couple of years or may become available. Maybe even a guy like Trae Young from Atlanta, who just got traded to, I believe it was Washington he got dealt to. So, there's a lot of different ways to look at it right now, but at the very least, the Knicks are viewed as they're going to be aggressive suitors in their attempt to trade for Giannis. So, fingers crossed that comes to fruition.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and fingers crossed the rest of the way, because it's gonna be a very interesting rest of the season. And I'm just hoping for once I could say the moment that'll have us fainting happens.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So let's hope the Knicks can make us faint, no doubt about it. And they're going to keep going at it tomorrow. They're going to be looking to win their 5th in a row tomorrow at the Garden, as it'll be the Trailblazers, who have been right around 500 this year, coming in to take on the Knicks, 29-18. Knicks looking for their 30th win before their 50th game, which is a good sign. It means they're off to a good start. So big game tomorrow at the Garden for the Knicks, 7:30 tip-off. Also, Dan, before we get away from the trade deadline talk, let's touch on the Rangers a little bit right now. The Rangers last night lost to the Islanders 5-2, as this season continues to sink lower and lower and lower. And honestly, unfortunately for this year for us, it hasn't even been, it's no longer about wins and losses at this point. It's about getting ready for next year, because right now, even as the Islanders and the Rangers are playing tonight, no score, 7 minutes left in the first period. There's very little buzz around it, because the Rangers are basically a dead team at this point. They've got the 2nd worst record in hockey. If the draft happened today, they'd have the number 2 pick in the draft. And it's been just about as bad as it sounds. And now this retool that's going on, Dan, is the Rangers really kicked it off yesterday with the trade of Carson Soucy to the Islanders. This, by the way, the first Ranger-Islander trade since 2010, and only the 4th Ranger-Islander trade of all time. The only other 2 trades that the Rangers did prior to this one and the 2010 trade was in 1972, which was the Islanders' first year in existence. So not too often these 2 trades, these 2 teams make trades. And as a matter of fact, this Carson Soucy trade is probably the most significant that these two teams have ever made. The one back in 2010 was a minor leaguer from the Islanders getting traded to the Rangers for a 6th-round draft pick. Very little stakes in that one. This one, Soucy getting dealt from the Rangers to the Islanders for a 3rd-round pick. Not too bad. I like that the fact they got back a 3rd-round pick. I know Islander fans did not think they were going to have to give up a 3rd-round pick to get him, but because let's be honest, Carson Soucy really hasn't played very good. The Rangers got him for a 3rd-round pick last year, so I think a lot of people, Islanders fans mostly, were thinking they were going to get him for maybe a 4th or a 5th-round pick. So you got to give Chris Drury credit, the fact that he at least got back what he gave up for Carson Soucy in the first place.
Yeah, you gotta have to give Chris Drury a win on that one, at least getting back what they gave up. So we got that. Now comes the part where it's gonna get even more of a disastrous of a season, and sadly we're gonna have to say goodbye to the bread man who gave us so many great memories. So many great playoff memories, so many moments that made me jump off my seat, nearly fall off my seat, be so loud my dog was barking. So it's
true.
it's just gonna be sad one to see this go, and it's gonna be wait and see where the team stands, where we develop. Can we develop another superstar? And but what is there going to be on the trade deadline during the off season? On the trading block during the off season, and they got to really they need to really put together a team during the off season, especially with we don't know how many years Mike Sullivan's going to be on this team, and Mike Sullivan wants to be able to coach a winner. He's not here to just sit around and wait for a team to develop. They got to get something going quick during the off season. So that's going to be a big thing, and there's going to be a big thing of what players to keep. I feel like maybe there's question marks whether they trade him or not. I feel like Savannah Jed, Mika Savannah Jed might be a key player, and maybe depending how quick the Rangers can mold themselves into a contender next year. And so they probably keep him, and this is going to be a lot to look at this year, maybe next year.
Yeah, Zibanejad's not going anywhere. Fox isn't going anywhere. JT Miller isn't going anywhere. Igor Shesterkin isn't going anywhere. That's I guess why they're calling it more of a retool than a rebuild, because they do still have those guys that they're kind of building around. But yeah, it's unfortunate, man. Panarin is going to be on his way out. They've officially shut him down. So for all intents and purposes, unless for whatever weird reason a trade doesn't end up working out, Artemi Panarin has played his final game as a New York Ranger, and that's painful to say. Easily the greatest free agent signing in the history of the New York Rangers. Yeah, that's including the great Wayne Gretzky. I mean, as great as Wayne Gretzky was, and we all loved Gretzky, even when he had 2 90-plus point seasons as a Ranger. So it's not like, that last year, 99, he wasn't too great. But 97, 98, 90-point seasons both years, played great with the Rangers. But still, Artemi Panarin is better than him as a Ranger, better than Marian Gaborik, better than any of the other big-name forwards that you want to think about that came here and joined the Rangers. And Artemi Panarin, you could even argue, based on his point per game, might be the greatest forward in the history of the Rangers. Now, obviously, I know when you're talking about a team that has guys like Rod Gilbert and Jean Rattel and Marc Messier, and obviously we just mentioned Wayne Gretzky and all the other greats that have ever worn a New York Rangers sweater. It's not to take anything away from them. But if we're going to look at it, I mean, Artemi Panarin averaged just about 1.3 points a game in his career as a New York Ranger. Nobody else is even close to that. That includes Gilbert. That includes Messier. That includes Gretzky. Every guy we just mentioned is nowhere near Artemi Panarin in points per game. And it just goes to show what a great New York Ranger this guy has been. We all might have wished that, even though he did have some playoff moments, we all might have wished that his playoffs were a little bit better than they were. But this guy was a fantastic Ranger, and it's going to be really sad to see him go.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see him go. Yeah, the same thing. I gotta say, we kind of wish the playoffs turned out a bit better for him, but you got to remember the playoffs are just such a big crapshoot that
True.
things get so close that sometimes you really it's very unpredictable who could freaking find a way to get some big moment. It's but
Yeah,
at the same time when he was on that team, he gave us a good chance, and you knew at any moment there was going to be something, and there was a couple of moments there. But
no
yeah,
doubt about it.
we're gonna gonna, gonna miss him, and I hope we at least get a nice haul for for him. That's going to be a key thing is the return. I'm hoping they don't screw up the return.
Yeah, and Drury, I'm telling you right now, Chris Drury better hold out and get the best possible package. Let's not forget, last year the Islanders traded Brock Nelson to the Colorado Avalanche and got back not one, but two first-round picks and a top prospect, like one of the better prospects in the league. Brock Nelson is a good NHL player, no doubt about it, hard nosed and everything. He is not half the offensive player Artemi Panarin got. So if we're going to use the Brock Nelson trade as a framework for what the Rangers should get back in exchange for Artemi Panarin, I mean, come on, the guy should be at least worth two first round picks and a top prospect, and probably even more than that.
Yeah, exactly. We better see something on the level of that. Maybe if that's the case, maybe I won't be so upset about it if we got a nice return that sets us up for the next big years of playoff runs we're gonna have. That maybe hopefully this time that those years of playoff runs will lead us to the promised land and bring Lord Stanley back to its rightful place in the Big Apple.
You got that right, buddy. From your lips to God's ears. And I also got to say, don't worry, Rangers fans. I know a lot of Rangers fans are down right now because the Islanders right now are riding high, and the Rangers are down in the dumps at the moment. But much like the Mets and the Yankees, the Islanders are like the Mets. They always find a way to screw it up, and the Rangers are like the Yankees. Even when they screw up, they find a way to be back in the mix a couple of years later, if not sooner. So I'm not that worried. It's a tough pill to swallow for this year, but I think the Rangers are going to figure out a way out of this, and let's hope it starts with a big return in the Artemi Panarin trade there, Dan. So
Yep, exactly. And let's hope this is going to be the last clean shaven the playoff portion of the year for a
that's true.
while.
That's true. Now I'm not clean shaven. I'm just pretending the Rangers are making the playoffs right now. So that's why I got my beard at the moment. But and so all right, Dan, let's keep rocking along here. So also we'll wrap the show up talking some football. Obviously the NFC Championship game and AFC Championship game this past Sunday. Jets and the Giants making some noise. But I did want to get into a couple of little baseball notes real quick, Dan. The Mets did introduce Freddie Peralta to the media uh, earlier this week, and I found it very interesting. I don't know if you saw this. He was talking about his first game as the first baseball game that he ever went to, the first major league game, and he said that it was a Met Yankee game at Shea Stadium in 2005 that Pedro Martinez started. And I realized actually I was at that game. So me and Freddie Peralta actually were at the same Met Yankee game 20 years ago.
That is crazy. You know the weird part? I was also at that game.
You were at that game too?
Yeah, I was at that. I was at that game. I was at Shea Stadium that year. I was at Shea Stadium that day. So
That's
as
so
well.
me, you, and Freddie Peralta were all in the stadium on the same day and all didn't even know each other.
Yeah, exactly. How wild is that? But for real, that is just freaking neat to see that there's someone who looks like he's just pumped and he feels like he's ready to handle what it's gonna be like to be a New York Met. He's gotten to see it in person. He's ready for it, and I kind of and that kind of speaks volumes when I hear someone say their first memory of going to a baseball game is at Shea Stadium for certain.
Right?
Yeah,
I was trying to
exactly.
think. I I wonder how many of our current Mets have ever even been to Shea Stadium. You know what I mean? Like it's funny that Freddie Peralta is probably one of just a couple of the guys that have even been to Shea Stadium at any point in their lives.
Yeah, that that's like weird, right? That's almost as rare as like that almost feels as rare as like we're seeing someone who played at City Field getting their number retired, and
It's
that
true. It's true.
and that feels weird. And we I hear we might see that again, probably if they can figure because I know there's a lot of scheduled things that the Mets have to work that out, but I'm correct. I think Beltran when it is going into the Hall as a Met, so that means they're gonna have to figure out the day the retirement number the number retirement ceremony.
Yeah, I agree. If Beltran is winning the Mets, if he's wearing the Mets hat in the Hall of Fame, which from everything I've heard, that's the team he's wearing. He's going in as a Met. He's wearing the Mets hat. So if that's the case, the Mets have to retire his number. You know, if a guy is in the Hall of Fame and he's wearing your hat, you have to retire his number.
Yep, without a doubt. Of course, the reason why I heard ownership said that's going to be tough scheduling that's because they have a bunch of things scheduled this year because we also got the Mets Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which the aforementioned Carlos Beltran is one of the inductees into the Mets Hall of Fame this year. There's also and there's also the 40th anniversary of the 1986 Mets,
It's
their
true.
little reunion ceremony, which by the way, can we for once can we win a championship before the 50th anniversary? That's all I ask. For years I kept
Seriously,
saying win one before the 40th. Win one before the 50th. Please, 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 just win one for the 50th. Win one before the 50th.
I'm with you on that, man. And you know, the funny thing is too that you know, with the as long as they win it before 54 years, because right now my Jets have blown past 54 years without a championship, so they're well past that right now. Let's hope the Mets can get it done before that. At some point in the next 14 years, let's try to win a championship. And yeah,
Yep, exactly. I want to see as many members of the '86 Mets be able to welcome a current Mets team into that fraternity of Mets that have won a championship in the orange and blue. I I,
that's
I
right.
want
Just like the 60,
we
you know,
want to
just
see
like the
that happen.
69 Mets did. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly. We
it,
want to see as many of them. It's already tragic. We got a couple of them that are key members, key people that are no longer with us. I met the late Gary Carter. We really missed you. One of the nicest, and one of the most class acts of a human. Not only as a major leaguer, but just as a human being. If you met him, you know what I'm talking about. How class act of a human being he was. I don't know if you ever got to meet him before.
no, I never got to meet Gary Carter.
But I'm sure like me, you've heard the same thing from those who have.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially, I heard a lot of great things about him too. When he was the manager of the Single A Mets down there, and then also later on the in Port St. Lucie, and then also later on with the Long Island Ducks.
Yep, exactly. Both places where I actually did see him, and he was kind enough to talk to me when he realized I was in the stands.
Very cool, man. And yeah, so you know, just you know, Gary Carter, great guy. That's another number two. I wish the Mets had retired. I think number 8 should be retired. Um, even though he is you know, not wearing a Met hat in there, I do think Gary Carter deserves to have his number retired. And just to wrap up on that too with Beltran, Dan, I heard the Mets trying to make a big deal, like, oh, well, we're already doing the Hall of Fame and this and that. Beltran is going in the Hall of Fame that day, so why don't they just retire his number that day too?
Yeah, I feel like they should. I feel like they should do that. That would be perfect. I feel like they could. They could work that out. If they want
Right?
if they
Like you
wanted
remember
to
yeah. I'm sorry, do you know what you're saying?
like I'll tell you a good example that they did that, and I was at this game. I was very little, like I was around like 6 years old or something back then. But Tom Seaver, when his number when his number was retired, it was the same day. His number was retired on the same day he got inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And
And
it was
then
also a surprise. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
and then last year, the same day David Wright got inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame, his number was retired.
Exactly. And then also a couple of years ago, when the Mets were doing those inductions too, they surprise retired Willie Mays' number, and they didn't make a big deal out of it prior to it. They didn't have to sell tickets. They didn't have to make a big deal. They just knew it was the right thing to retire Willie Mays' number, so they did it that day. And I feel like they should do the same thing with Beltran that day.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, I need to get have a need to have a number 15 retirement sign made, because I plan on one of these days hanging up little signs with the number retirements, and hopefully someday I'll get a third little championship little thing made also, because I have both little replicas of the championship things made ready to be hung up, and hopefully there'll be a third one, and a third Daily News hung up. There needs to be a third Daily News and a third team photo, because I got copies of both team photos on my wall.
That's right. All right. And last thing on the Mets before we move on to the football, Dan, is that the Mets have invited future Hall of Famer Craig Kimbrell to spring training. The 38-year-old right-hander is joining a pretty decent group the Mets have been compiling now for the bullpen. With that Freddie Peralta trade, they also added Tobias Myers, so he's going to be in that mix. They also signed right-handed pitcher Luis Garcia within the last week or two. They now bring in Craig Kimbrell. That adds them to the groups that we already know they have, like unfortunately closing Devin Williams. They signed Luke Weaver earlier this offseason. They already had AJ Minter from last year, and Brooks Raleigh is coming back. So the Mets are really deepening this bullpen.
Yeah, exactly. They need to continue to deepen the bullpen. This is a nice low risk, high reward kind of move. Let's see how this turns out. I know Greg Kimbrell has a pretty good, sort of good track record. So we'll see how that goes. And if that goes well, I think he would fit well in New York. I feel like he looks New York enough to be a relief pitcher in the Mets. The New York City has a great ginger population, and he'll fit right in if he does well.
No doubt about it. The other thing with Kimbrell too is that it's going to be interesting to see how the Mets use him, because if you look at Kimbrell last year, he spent last year with the Orioles, and in April, May, and June, Craig Kimbrell was off the charts. I mean, he was really, really good, classic Craig Kimbrell. And then July, he was bad. August, he was worse. And September, his ERA was about 54. So it got real bad for Craig Kimbrell as that season went on last year. It started off good. So, I think if the Mets are going to consider bringing Craig Kimbrell in here, and this kind of reminds me of like from 2011 when the Mets had Jason Isringhausen come back for that 1 year. It kind of feels like that to me. It has that feel to it. But Isringhausen was a decent piece for that Met bullpen, and I think they could do the same thing with Kimbrell. Just not overusing him. Make sure you're smart about it. And then I think as long as they play it right, Craig Kimbrell could be a nice piece in this pen.
Yeah, he could be a nice piece in the bullpen as long as I feel like the key thing is that we have to have a starting pitching that could put us in a situation where we're not overusing the bullpen. That
Yeah,
it's a major thing, and we need to have less pitchers going less than 5 innings. Also, is another key thing. In addition to pitchers going deep into the bull, going deep in the bullpen. The other, and of course, the other thing I'm still nervous about is the decision that McLean made to pitch in the WBC, because I feel like I know someone works like a pitching relief, but I feel like he needs to be in spring training, getting ready, stretching himself out for starting for what's going to be a big, a lot of eyes on him year two or sort of year one. Because if I'm correct, he still has rookie status, so
he does. You're right.
he has a potential if things go well. We could be looking at a rookie of the year. We could be looking at one of the biggest rookie pitching sensations since like Harvey and DeGrom and stuff. This is gonna be. I expect a big leap from last year with McLean. He's shown it. Another one. I forget his name. I forgot if it's a Zach Scott. Did I get the name correct?
Christian Scott.
Christian Scott. Sorry, get him mixed up. Christian Scott.
Zach Scott was the shortstop.
I'm sorry, I keep getting things mixed up because it's been so long since he's been. It's like I forget this guy has been on our team because he's been in the IL for so long and recovering from Tommy John.
Yeah, but exactly. This guy's been gone for 2 years, basically.
Yeah, he had that nice little brief flash of brilliance that we saw there, and I'm hoping he could pull this off, make a big comeback, and join the lineage of great Mets pitching we've had. And this could be a steal this could be like a very big surprise for us that all of a sudden out of nowhere we have a good pitching team. That's gonna be a big thing. I feel like talking about like run prevention. That's the real key thing that could have been the run prevention was the pitching. I'm still a little nervous about how our offense is going to be, and it's still like feeling like a huge. I mean, it's like a huge void to fill that time we let Alonso go, but I feel like that's going to be the key thing is the pitching. I feel like is gonna really propel us there to that next level.
I think you're 100% right because David Stearns can talk about run prevention all he wants, but in my opinion, that was a bunch of bullshit that he tried selling us at the beginning of the season because let's look at his final plan. His final plan is having a guy that's never played first base play first base, a guy that's never played third base play third base, and a guy that's never played left field play left field. So somehow he wants to try to tell us that we got better defensively because you acquired Luis Robert Jr. and Marcus Semien. All right, I guess I'll take your word for it, David. But the other thing, Dan, too, that I think you made a good point about is these pitchers going deep into games. And I want to see the Mets letting Peralta go deep in the game. You know, we gave the stat last week when we were talking about the Peralta trade that as much as we all love the trade, and he is an ace, and as close to it as you're going to get. And I don't want to disparage him, but let's be honest, the facts are the facts. He started 33 games last year. One time, that's right, one time he went 7+ innings. That one time was on April 2nd, and he threw 8 innings. After that, after April 2nd last year, his longest start was 6 2/3 innings. That's it. That's as long as he went into the games. So he's not a guy that goes deep into games, or at least the way the Brewers were managing him. What I want the Mets to do this year, especially, like, look, okay, if the Mets end up coming to a contract extension with him in spring training, then I get protecting him and doing all this stuff. If if Peralta is a free agent at the end of this year, and the Mets don't come to an extension with him, I want the Mets to go out there and get every single inning out of this guy they could possibly get. You know what I mean? Let him go deep into games. Take the reins off. Let him throw 100, 110 pitches, you know, normally. Don't take him out at 90 or 87 pitches or something like that. You know what I mean? I think especially the fact I understand protecting these young pitchers. I get it. Even though I'm not that big a fan of it at times, I understand it. Franchises have to protect their assets, no doubt about it. But if you only have Peralta for 1 year, you better get the most out of him you possibly can. So I don't want to see them babying him this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they need to let the pitchers, especially as the season goes along, go deeper into games. They need to get the most out of their pitching, especially as the season goes along. And
Yeah.
there's even gonna be more pitching up there that I mean up there in the minors. That's gonna be a, a lot to look out. We know probably Jonah Tong's gonna start in AAA, but probably the circumstance could work out that he could be in the big league club if he forces his hand and pitches well enough. You know that's probably bound to happen. Like I don't expect him to be in AAA that long. And
I don't know, Dan. I disagree with that because you have to think about we were talking about this last year. I'm sorry, it was last week. Where are you going to put him? I understand that Sproat's gone now, so that does bump Tong up the list a little bit. But when you take a look at the Mets just added a starter to their major league staff, and technically they didn't take one away. You take a look at all the starters the Mets have. Let's not forget Tyler McGill is still in that mix. Um, or actually, does he have to have Tommy John? I don't remember, but he's still somewhere in the mix right now. They have then obviously all the other guys: David Peterson, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes. Um, who are the other guys they got now?
Singer.
Yeah, Kodai Senga and Peralta too. That's five guys, and I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting a guy. So when you look at that, that's five. I already just named five guys off the top of my head, not including uh, Tyler McGill in that mix, not including Jonah Tong in that mix, not including Tobias Myers in that mix too, Dan. So when you look at that, there are still at least seven, maybe even eight guys that are standing in front of Jonah Tong before he's going to be on the big league staff. So if he does make the team this year, which I expect at some point this year, we're going to see Jonah Tong at the big league level. I just don't think it's going to be early. I think he might be filling in if somebody gets hurt late or if somebody's underperforming. Maybe he comes up if he's having a good year in the minors, maybe around the All-Star break. But I don't think we're going to see Jonah Tong earlier this year just because there's so many guys in front of him right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's what's gonna happen. And at the same time, I feel like it is worth keeping an eye out on his starts in AAA without a doubt.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's the guy that you got to keep your eye on down in the minors because he's going to be coming up too. And also, you mentioned him before, Christian Scott. Christian Scott's going to be right in that mix as well. So we can't forget him either with that.
Yeah,
But
he's
yeah,
he's pro- he's, pro- he's probably gonna have a shot at making a rotation in spring training.
yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Um, so yeah, man. All right, let's turn the page now on the baseball talk and wrap things up here with a little football. First off, Dan, I did want to get your opinion. I know you were a little heated about it yesterday. Everything came out that Bill Belichick and Eli Manning were snubbed for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Manning, this is his second year on the ballot, and he got snubbed. Now, I do think Eli is going to get it eventually. So I'm not that upset about Eli. I understand that the Giant fans would be and should be. But Eli's going to get in. It's unfortunate. I don't know why they didn't do it this year. Because I get Eli not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he should be very quickly after that. So Eli not getting the nod in the hall is a little annoying, but he's going to get in here this year. To to me, Dan, what I think the real joke that shows what a joke this Hall of Fame voting is with these assholes. And this is a Jet fan saying this who hates Bill Belichick and hates the Patriots. This guy fucked over my franchise, was named the head coach, and resigned on a piece of paper as the HC of the NYJ. That's how he actually wrote his resignation. So I have no love for Bill Belichick at all. But the fact that he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer just goes to show what a joke all these guys voting for it are. All they want to do, that asshole from the Colts, Bill Polian, was trying to convince people to not vote for Belichick because of Spygate. Are you kidding me? Spygate was a joke. Everybody knew Spygate was going on, and the Patriots weren't the only ones that were doing it. Eric Mangini was pissed off at the Patriots and turned them in to screw them over to the league, which, as a Jet fan at the time, I loved. It was great. He screwed the Patriots over. But you can't sit here and act like Bill Belichick. The 2007 Patriots didn't need to tape the Jets offense in 2007, who, by the way, went 4-12 that year and stunk. He didn't need to do that to beat them. That was just what he became. That there were so many teams that were doing that at the time. Go listen to, on the Fox network, Jimmy Johnson, Super Bowl winning head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, was talking about how literally every single team did this. So if you're going to sit here, Bill Polian, and say that Bill Belichick does not deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the Spygate, that is a joke. And the NFL Hall of Fame should be ashamed of themselves that they went along with this bullshit, keeping Belichick out. If there's ever been a coach in football that's a first ballot Hall of Famer, it's a guy that's won 6 Super Bowls. And that's coming from a Jet fan. Dan, what do you think about that?
I agree with the same thing. Bill Belichick should have been in the first ballot. It is a complete joke. It is a complete travesty, and I was just like shocked. That one really shocked me. I mean, I was shocked with that one, and I was upset when the news of Eli Manning didn't get into the Hall of Fame. And I mean, you saw my post when I said, right, argue it all you want, say what you want. I said Eli Manning belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I said if you don't agree, I posted that meme. It was a meme from the season 5 of Stranger Things of a character Derek saying his line "suck my fat one." But that's what I was. I was upset with that, and I was also shocked how the Hall of Fame did not put Bill Belichick in his first year. There is going to be some heads are going to roll in terms of the people on the commission that votes on the Hall of Fame. There's going to be some consequences there. The people at the Hall of Fame are realizing it, and rightfully so.
Yeah, you're dead on, man. And you're 100% right about that, too, because the NFL Hall of Fame put out a statement yesterday basically saying that they appreciate all the passion that the fans have been showing. Because, look, I think it's been unanimous. This is one of the things that kind of unites all NFL fans. Look, we can hate the Patriots and we can hate Belichick and hate Brady as much as you want. At some point, you have to respect greatness. If you're too much in your own bullshit to not respect greatness, then you don't deserve to have a Hall of Fame vote. And if all of these fans from different teams can recognize that Bill Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, because that's what they took from him. Of course, he's going to be like Eli. The NFL didn't put Eli in the first ballot, whatever. You could make the argument the guy's a 2-time Super Bowl winning Super Bowl MVP quarterback. You could definitely make the case Eli Manning could have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. But okay, whatever. They decided not to give it to him. We all know that even if the NFL is going to delay it, Eli Manning's getting in. The difference is Bill Belichick should be in too, no doubt about it, just like Eli. But Bill Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just like Mariano Rivera in baseball and Derek Jeter and Tom Seaver and every other great that you could sit here and think of. Bill Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just like and Eli Manning, I compare Eli Manning in a lot of ways to Mike Piazza, where, they made him wait a couple of years, but they finally put him in. Eli Manning's going to get the same thing. He's going to go in eventually. It's not going to be a first ballot, which sucks, but Eli's going to get in. Belichick, though, should have been a first ballot.
Yeah, without a doubt, he should he should have been a first ballot Hall of Fame. I mean, you could and plus at the same time, as great as they are, I still love to this day messing with anyone I know who's a Patriots fan by showing them pictures of certain stuff from both times. Like I'll show them stuff like maybe the newspaper headline from when they won Super Bowl when the Giants won Super Bowl 42. Maybe the photo of the ticket from because I got to be at the City Hall, the ceremony at the end of the parade when they did the ceremony at City Hall. I showed him that. Maybe I showed him that. Maybe a picture of me wearing the hat from when they won that championship, Super Bowl 42. That that hat, and some cases, and even my ticket stub from when I attended Super Bowl 46. I love reminding them of that. Yeah, I have to admit it. That is fun reminding Patriots fans of that. Showing them anything.
Fan, if I was a Giants fan, Dan, I'd be doing the same thing.
Yep, exactly. I will always remind them of that one Giant defeat.
No doubt about it, man. I still love to rub into Patriots fans. The one time the Jets ever got anything over on them over the last 30 years was the Jets' last playoff win 15 years ago, January 16th, 2011. That's right. I actually remember the date. That was the last time the Jets actually won a playoff game, and that was the last time, the only time the Jets knocked the Patriots out right there. So,
I won some nice pocket money off of that game, by the way.
Very nice, very nice. And all right, yeah. So 2 snubs there. The NFL Hall of Fame really has to figure their shit out. But real quick, Dan, let's wrap things up here with a little bit of the football before we get out. The AFC Championship game was a fun game to watch. I know a lot of people were bitching about the score and bitching about, it wasn't high scoring, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. I love snow football games. I love seeing how the players react. I love seeing the atmosphere and everything like that. So it was a lot of fun watching the second half for me, even though a lot of people might not have liked it. But it was 10-7. It was a fun game, in my opinion. Dan, what did you think?
Yeah, that was just an interesting game. Seeing that game just oozed memories of the 2007 NFC Championship game. I remember that game where I may have been warm in my living room, thinking, the heat on, everything, drinking hot chocolate, whatever, eating snacks, but just looking at the shot throughout the game, they were showing shots of Coach Tom Coughlin's face. I don't know if you remember that during that game, watching the broadcast of that game. They were showing shots of his face that you just almost could imagine what that felt. You almost imagine in your head what that must have felt like when you're just seeing shots of that alone. How his skin or whatever it was reacting to being in such freezing weather. Like that was. You've seen some great moments have happened in that kind of weather, and this was without a doubt no exception to that rule. This was a really hard fought game, and it just came down to the end, and the Patriots somehow got on top in their first Super Bowl post Brady. Never expected I would see it this soon. I figured it would take decades before anything you would even be able to even have the Patriots being in a conversation of Super Bowl contender, but here they are. They post Brady, post Belichick, they somehow found their way into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, as soon as Kraft fired Gerard Mayo and hired Vrabel, I knew it was trouble, and unfortunately, I didn't realize how much trouble. And that 10-7 win sends the Patriots to the Super Bowl for the 12th time in franchise history, and they'll look to win their 7th Super Bowl. On the other side, the NFC Championship game was the Seahawks and the Rams. 31-27. The Seahawks end up getting the victory, go to their first Super Bowl in a decade. Sam Darnold, the old Jet quarterback, becomes the first quarterback drafted by the Jets since 1967 to advance to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, since I think Namath was drafted in 65. So since Joe Namath was drafted back in 65, it's been a long time since a New York Jet drafted quarterback has gone this far. So shout out to Sam Darnold. And I know a lot of people are trying to make it like, oh, this is a Jet fan's worst nightmare. Oh, it's the Patriots against Sam Darnold on the Seahawks. This, I have not seen one Jet fan say, oh, I'm rooting for the Patriots. I don't want to see Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl. No. Every single Jet fan I know is rooting for Sam Darnold. We know it wasn't his fault. It was our stupid him over. It was Todd Bowles. It was Adam Gase. It was Woody and Chris Johnson. And it was every other asshole they had out there making decisions during that time. I have nothing but positive thoughts about Sam Darnold. And I really hope him and the Seahawks win their first championship in over a decade against the Patriots. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. That they they deserve it. I guess that city deserves something they could celebrate about, and it's gonna be an interesting Super Bowl. I feel like the game's gonna be great. Maybe the halftime show may be only good for a shit break or a snack break, but aside from that, should be a good game.
Oh, yeah, that Super Bowl is going to be a nightmare unless you like seeing a guy that doesn't speak English dance around on stage in a dress. That'll be interesting. But anyway, yeah, so big game for the Patriots and the Seahawks. Obviously the Super Bowl 62, Dan. It's crazy that we're at Super Bowl 60. And let's talk. There's a couple of notes on the Jets and the Giants before we get out of here. The Jets fired 7 coaches, and now coming down earlier this week, offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand, who the Jets apparently a couple weeks ago had no plans on firing, they fired him now. And they hired Brian Duker. Yeah, that's right, the Brian Duker. I don't know who he is either. He used to be an assistant in Detroit along with Aaron Glenn, which is how they know each other. He was an assistant in Miami last year for the Dolphins. The Jets are bringing in here right now. This is a guy that's never called plays in his career. So, and AG is going to call the plays. The Jets ended up basically stiffing Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale had basically come in and expected to get the job. He basically thought it was like a handshake agreement in a way, but didn't end up working out. Wink get shown the door, and the Jets bring in a no-name Brian Duker, and it looks like they're also going to be bringing in Frank Reich as their new offensive coordinator. What do you think about these new choices, Dan?
Yeah, this smells Jets disaster without a doubt. This just smells disaster, and you might be pulling your head. You might be bald by the end of next season with this, because I don't think you're gonna get much better. We're gonna it's gonna be like last year that you guys are gonna be talking about the whole tankathon and everything, and potentially maybe wanting to go book a trip to wherever the 2027 NFL draft is going to be, because it's going to be another disaster, and it really adds insult to injury, because you guys, there isn't any other options at quarterback in the draft, so you're screwed there in years, and it's going to be even harder to find your quarterback for this team, for your team.
Yeah, well, we know this year the Jets are going to have to basically get a stopgap quarterback for a year, and then draft their quarterback next year. That's the thing that sucks. The Jets put themselves in this spot, and Woody Johnson's an idiot. The Jets are the laughing stock of football right now. Nobody in the league can understand how you keep a head coach on, and after 1 year, he fired both his coordinators. Let's not forget, he fired the defensive coordinator in season. Now he just fired his offensive coordinator. Dan, do you know the last head coach that after his first year had to fire his defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator? And it's only happened one time in the last 30 years.
Damn, how far back do we got to go for that?
The Cleveland Browns team under Hugh Jackson that went 0-16. That's the last time a team had to fire their offensive and defensive coordinator after 1 year.
Yeah, damn. Talk about how far back you have to go, especially when you realize when you go far back, another franchise that's had a lot of letdowns.
Almost as big a disaster as the Jets, although I can't say as big because they've actually made the playoffs in the last few years. So at least the Browns have that to hold over our heads. As for the Giants, Dan, we'll wrap things up with a little Giants here. And the Giants were all set to hire Todd Monken as their OC. And he was he was obviously the OC all those years with Lamar Jackson and Coach Harbaugh over there in Baltimore. You're not going to get that same dynamic duo here in New York like we thought we were, as Todd Monken has actually been hired by the Cleveland Browns to be their new head coach. So the Giants are still looking for a new OC, which does suck because you would have liked to have that move there come to fruition. But the Giants do have a decent list here. Travis Switzer, Charlie Weiss Jr., who was Jackson Dart's OC in college, Lunda Wells, who I've never heard of, Davis Webb used to be a former quarterback with the Giants, and then of course Cliff Kingsbury, who's probably the guy I like the most on this right now. I think if the Giants went out and got Cliff Kingsbury, I think that'd be a big move for them.
Yeah, that I feel like that's the move they need to make. I feel like Harbaugh knows that that's the move that needs to be made, and they're going to convince them to join in on this, and rightfully so. And I expect them to get their guy, and without a doubt, it's going to be a lot better than what we had last year, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. So, all right, Dan, that's just about going to do it for us before we get out of here. Anything I'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure. I got to plug my Twitter, my X account, Bobo103NYC. You could follow me there on X. You could also follow me on Instagram, Bobo718DK. Same username on Threads. You can follow me there for all your Bobo content. Also, YouTube, one word, Daniel Curlin, for your Bobo content there. Whenever I upload stuff, of course, if you subscribe to our Patreon, you get 1 week early access to my YouTube content if you subscribe to our Patreon, which is only $5. Not bad of a deal, and you even get things like our Patreon show. We usually wrap football season, we wrap up local football teams, and during the rest of the year it's a little extra show. But you also get things like Trackside Minute, where I talk about the what happened with the NASCAR the previous week. So you got that also. So be on a lookout for all that stuff, and subscribe to our Patreon and support the show.
That's right. Patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. We appreciate everybody that has helped us out and subscribed already. So yeah, that's just about going to do it for us. For my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody, and we will catch you next time. Don't forget, we're going to be back on our Patreon show on Sunday, like we always are, and then right back here next Thursday, normal time, same channel, 7 p.m. next Thursday. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. And it's 0-0 in the second period. Let's go Rangers. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
First and foremost, I just want to say, watch Best Seat in the House podcast with Kramer and Bobo.